Are you painting eggs for your Easter decor this year? These can be a bit tricky to paint. They like to run away from us, but I will show you my trick for how to paint them really nicely and then finish with a beautiful Easter wreath as well. And don't worry, no eggs were wasted in the making of this video. This is how you clean out your eggs so you can use your wreath again and again. Firstly, take something sharp like a needle and put a small hole in both the top and bottom of the egg, something smaller than a centimetre, enough that you can get a toothpick inside. And what you're doing here is breaking up the yolk so that it can run out of the bottom hole. Then once the yolk is broken up and loose inside, you can blow the egg out. Take a straw and put it over the top hole and blow gently, and the yolk should come out of the bottom. Then give it a final rinse until all the leftover yolk is removed. Leave to dry and your eggs are ready. These are the supplies you'll need to make this pretty wreath. You will need 11 eggs if you're going to copy my design, a wreath, your paint colours, a glue gun, and unless you've got a steady hand, some adhesive vinyl to cut out your letters as well. You've probably already got the tools in your house to paint these eggs easily. You need a peg and a toothpick. It's that simple. Position the toothpick so it points backwards over to the bigger part of the peg so that the egg doesn't overbalance while you're painting and while it's drying. This is one of my pretty pastel colours. This one is called Sea Glass. I also used a lilac called Morning Sunrise, a yellow called Sandcastle, and a pink called Conch. This is how you can paint your eggs cleanly, so your fingers don't get too messy, probably a bit messy, but not too messy. Firstly, paint as much as you can while holding it, because that is the most stable place. And make sure you paint over one of the holes on the top or bottom before you place it onto the toothpick. When you've got the majority covered, then you can place it onto the toothpick so that the painted side is down and it's not touching the peg. Then gently finish off the unpainted areas. If you paint downwards, you should be able to do this without holding the egg. But if you have to and you've got a fingerprint mark, just simply go over that at the end. These eggs needed 2 coats for the purple, pink and green colours and 3 coats for the yellow. And here's the wreath that you may have seen 1 or 2 times before, because this is now really good value for money for me. I actually bought this for £1.50 or about $2 in the sale, and I've used it so many times. It's so helpful to be able to have a wreath that you can just repurpose for each new occasion that you want to decorate for. How pretty are the colour combinations of these eggs? I like pastel colours anyway, but all of these really gentle spring-like colours are just so perfect. You have 2 choices for attaching the eggs. You can either use something like floral wire to wrap them around the wreath. I used a glue gun because I wanted them to be at slightly wonky angles to give it a bit more dimension. I worked out roughly how many letters would be on each part of the wreath, so I am spelling out Happy Easter. So 5 letters for happy, 6 letters for Easter. So I knew that I wanted the first egg to start in around about the 10 o'clock position. You do have to wait for the glue to dry to make sure they're secure. But if you're not in a rush, this is quite a peaceful and enjoyable process. didn't cover over the holes before painting because I wanted to see if I did need the wire to make the eggs more stable, but the glue was perfectly fine. Which meant that I did need to fill in those holes after the fact. Of course, you could cover them really easily with something like a bow or a sparkly gem. If you have a steady hand, you might want to write your letters by hand, either painting or drawing. Personally, I didn't have that much trust in my own ability to write with a steady hand, especially because I'd already attached the eggs. I deliberately attached the eggs before applying the letters because I knew I would be putting the eggs on in slightly wonky directions, so it would make sense to have the letters straight after the eggs were in place rather than before. I cut out these letters using my new X-Tool blade cutter. This is just adhesive vinyl, so really straightforward. And you'll see there's a gap. Why haven't I put the P and the Y in place? That's because I didn't notice when I cut it out that the two letters were slightly overlapping. I should have had more space between the actual letters. So when they were separated, they weren't perfectly formed letters anymore. I had to go back and cut those two extra letters, but fortunately that was a quick process. I used some wood filler to hide the holes, left that to dry and then painted over it again. The process would have been quicker if I'd filled in the holes originally before painting, but it really didn't take much longer doing it in this order. I simply put the wood filler in with a lollipop stick and wiped around it with a wet wipe. The only delay is in waiting for the wood filler to dry. You might recognise these little pieces of scrap wood from my sun catcher project that I did a short while ago. These are some of the cutouts that weren't used in the final project, so I had them spare and knew I would reuse them for something else. Some of them do have holes in the bottom from when I drilled them. I'm going to do my best to hide those in where I place them on the wreath. For pastel colours, I painted 3 of the leaf shapes with just 1 coat of paint and 2 coats of paint for the yellow. There's a running theme that the yellow needs a little bit more love and attention. To assemble these, I put them into a flower-like shape. So 1 of the leaf shape on the bottom and then 2 in the front, so it looks like petals. And you can simply display them anywhere you like on the wreath. I made sure to avoid putting the flowers next to an egg of the same colour, otherwise it's free for you to decide where is prettiest. And then for the final embellishment, I added some pretty pastel pink ribbon. To make the ribbon, simply create these 2 bunny ears, knot it together, and then it's a case of just tweaking it until you're happy with the bow shape that you create. And cut the ends into fishtails to make it a little bit more gentle. I did the larger pink ribbon for the main focus to go in the centre of the wreath, and then put in some creamy coloured ribbon behind it just to add it a bit more dimension. I finally added the flowers and the bows again with some more hot glue. And the wreath is complete. I particularly think that the pastel colours really look nice against the dark colour of the grapevine wreath. They're such a gentle spring-like colour. And how I would store this, I would put this in something like a hat box, or maybe with a microwave lid over the top of it, so that the eggs are protected for use next year. So what is next for tea and forget-me-nots? Well, it involves this giant tub of white paint. So watch out for that, because it is going to be a big one. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. I would really appreciate if you consider subscribing. Until next time, thanks so much. Bye. And if Easter is something you celebrate, then happy Easter to you.